Welcome, everyone, to the 138th edition of Master Mike's Wrestling Paradise. I'm your host, Master Mike Ambrose, and, I'm going to start this show with a little somber news. Kevin Sullivan, legendary pro wrestler, booker for many companies, passed away at the age of 74. He had been having rough health issues the last year or so. Because I used to listen to his podcast, which I'll get to later, and for that last year, he sounded kind of rough, and, he didn't seem like his old self. 'Cause he has a thick Boston accent, being a native of the Massachusetts. He had that thick accent, but even then it was kind of dying, the way he would talk. He wasn't himself, so Godspeed to him and his family. But let's start off, talking about his start. Like you say, he's from Massachusetts. Started as an amateur wrestler up here, and got into pro wrestling around 1970. Started as a babyface, mostly in, the southeast states, like Florida. And went to the WWF as, an enhancement guy. Went to San Francisco, then went to Georgia. But his main career, big time, where he really took off, his biggest run of his career was heel run in Florida, which is legendary. Classic. Ahead of its time with the Army of Darkness, him, Bob Roop, Mark Lewin, of course, the Purple Haze coming in from the sea. There was Luda Vachon in the group. Just a lot of great characters in that bunch, let me tell you. So, I'm trying to think. There were a few others in the group. Sir Lava Humperdinck was a manager. Oh, King Curtis Iakea. So, who was involved in the infamous Dungeon of Doom, which I'm going to get to. A lot of stuff here to get to in his career. Because the guy was, in the business for, 50 years almost. Was active even into, the 2010s. Another few, like I said, legendary feud with Dusty Rhodes, which was it, the whole thing, the Army Dark going after Dusty Rhodes. The video, a match from 1982 where Jake Roberts dressed up as Santa, gives Kevin some chloroform thing, knocks out Dusty, and it was the start of something big. That was Christmas night 1982, and that started the big run. Drew money all over Florida with Dusty. Other feuds with guys like Blackjack Mulligan, Barry Wynn, and Lex Luger, to name a few. Went to JCP, Jim Crockett Promotions, after Florida got bought by Jim Crockett. He did this thing with Jimmy Garvin over Jimmy's wife Precious, and called it the Tower Doom Cage Match, where the woman would come down and rescue Precious, which, of course, Jimmy Garvin did. It was like a 10-person tag match on Great American Bash. You can watch on Peacock. It's pretty good stuff. Really good stuff. One of my underrated stables he formed, the Varsity Club. The way he said that thick ass, the Varsity Club, because the guy's from Boston, and being a native of Massachusetts too, that thick accent, you can't forget it. And then Steve Williams, of course, they were all collegiate athletes. Steve Williams, from Oklahoma. His credentials speak for themselves in football and wrestling. 4-year All-American there. Rick Steiner, All-American amateur wrestler from Michigan. Mike Rotunda, great amateur wrestler and football player from the University of Syracuse. And Dan Spivey, who was an associate of the group. I think he went to school in Georgia. I'll have to check that out. I think he did go to school at the University of Georgia. And, it was a great group. Rick Steiner gave a big baby face off it. He helped him out a lot. And he won the U.S. Tag Team title with Steve Williams. Then Steve Williams and Mike Rotunda won the World Tag Team titles, NWA World Tag Team titles. Rick Steiner was the TV champion. Or he made me the TV champion afterwards, because he beat Rotunda for it. Rotunda was the TV champion, then Rick Steiner turned babyface and beat Rotunda for the tag team title. No, the TV title at one time. I think it was Starrcade 88. And then, he was gone went on the indie scene for, indies for a while. And, he actually stayed around in WCW for a while. He was on the booking committee there with Ric Flair and Eddie Gilbert and Jim Cornette. He was a commentator on WCW Power Hour. Had a stable with Cactus Jack, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Bud Sawyer called the Sullivan Slaughterhouse. There's actually a match on the Clash of Champs where Cactus Jack Norman the Lunatic. He had a feud with a guy named Norman the Lunatic, a big, heavyset guy, and Norman beat him after he pinned him in the women's restroom. It's on the Peacock. But yeah, then after that he took time off, went to Japan, Smoky Mountain Wrestling. There's a video where he does some angle with a guy from Japan. He slices his arm stuff. I'll put the link up because it's something to see. But then he came back to WCW around 94, I believe, and I think he came back in in 91 managing the one-man gang, then he left. Or he was actually Oz. He was actually the little guy managing Kevin Sullivan in the Oz. Kind of funny when Kevin has to do the Oz gimmick. Then he booked WCW, came back 94 and won the WCW World Tag Team title with Cactus Jack. And, Cactus always put over Sullivan a lot because Cactus helped him out quite a bit. He booked WCW. He formed the Dungeon of Doom, which is like almost like a parody, almost like the Army of Darkness, where he's kind of like the comical version of himself, painting his face up here, kind of. Like, not the X like he did in Florida, but similar, kind of like up here. He had King Curtis, Ikea, and, Sullivan, my son, when he would talk. Oh, King Curtis, that was great stuff. In its own weird way, it was funny. It's great stuff. And he formed the Dungeon to kind of gain Hogan's trust, because Hulk Hogan was always used to work with cartoon characters and stuff. But this was all to, start to convince and trust Hogan when the Hall and Nash came in to turn heel. And he knew that because Hogan was kind of dead in the water as a babyface. Let's be honest, at WCW, those fans didn't like him, care for him. When he turned heel, it changed Hogan's career and it helped elevate WCW become number one. And he was a big reason why. All this show they pretty much wrote for, he was successful. Helped that long run that WCW had. Sullivan was the head booker. That he helped bring the cruiserweights in. He was mainly good at building heat. Heel booker. He knew how to book heels better than anybody. Better than anything. Then they get heat. Better with the NW early on, we get that heat. Build. He goes, you gotta build like a balloon. You gotta build it so it put the air in the balloon. Don't let it out too soon. You gotta build the heat that way. You gotta let it simmer. Build it up. And he did. And WCW toward the end, they didn't know how to build the baby faces at the time. A few times they did. He had a big hit with Goldberg, obviously, and at the end, he left the booking team. He said that's when Goldberg lost the title. So. And he kind of wanted the finish at Starrcade 98 to be clean, instead of with the taser gun. He thought Goldberg should have lost to Nash clean, but, it didn't happen. He lost with the taser gun. Another thing we're going to bring up, I didn't want to bring this up right now. Well, I'll bring it up now. The feud with Chris Benoit. It was a hardcore feud. Before Horsemen in the Dungeon of Doom were feuding each other. And his ex-wife got involved. He got his ex-wife, woman, Nancy Sullivan, got involved, and we know the rest from there. I don't want to go into it, but we all know what happens. Sullivan's name got dragged in. Sullivan had nothing to do with what happened later on with Chris and Nancy and Daniel. That wasn't, Kevin Sullivan was living in Florida at the time. Then afterwards, he moved up to Seattle, I think, because he was living in Washington State. But he had a house in Florida, too. He owned some gyms down in Florida, too. Podcast, he was on the NDC, like I said. Places like Ring of Honor, making appearances at shows. And what I don't think I was looking forward to is when he did his podcast with John Pozorowski at the two-man power trip. I'll tag his, when I'm done with the show, I'll tag his little thing in there, so I'll see so you can, link it up if you don't know what I'm talking about. He's got a good podcast there, the two-man power trip, and, he did a show with Kevin Sullivan, a real good one, because I learned a lot about stuff from the shows he did, about all different shows, how he booked, shows he didn't book, and he was in tune with what was going on in the current scene. He was very complimentary toward Triple H and how WWE was doing, so he kept in tune right at the end. He was very much into the wrestling scene. I think the legacy of Kevin Sullivan, he was on the short first heel that I saw that was under 5'10", that was a real hardcore heel. Maybe Tully Blanchard too, but he had this vicious streak about him. He was stiff, he had to combat it that he was one of the biggest guy, so he had to look believable. He always makes this Alien analogy, the movie Alien, when he's a small thing and scary, that if you'd swat it right away, the movie's over. But something he said you gotta build the feet, build the anticipation to beat this evil guy that he's portrayed. The Army of Darkness. You gotta build on it. And he feud with bigger guys like Blackjack Mulligan, Andre the Giant was selling for me. He worked with all size guys. Barry Windham, Lex Luger, they were all bigger than him. Ric Flair was bigger than him. I don't think he worked with Rick was a heel a lot of time. Maybe he was a baby face. I don't know. I know they were real good friends and all. but I don't think they work that much. Yeah, what a character. Rest in peace to him. Godspeed to his family. I think, we talked. He was actually interviewed on a local podcast here in the wing because, like you said, he's from Massachusetts. And, obviously he loved talking about the Red Sox. He loved baseball. I always remember talking about the Big Papi, speaking fondly of Big Papi and Manny. Because I'm a big Red Sox fan too, being from here. He always talked the Patriots, Tom Brady. He was a big sports guy. Knew a lot about stuff like that, let me tell you. When it came to Russ, he knew everything. He retained everything. He studied under a lot of great guys to learn how to book. Great booker. I think a guy like him could help out any company today. But, not many of those guys left. Speaking of today's current products, Smackdown Preview tonight. The only big thing to know that Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, returns, and I'll be watching 8 o'clock tonight. That's the big one. And that's that. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. You take care, everybody. Well, not see you tomorrow. I'll see you in a few days. I'll see you in a few... I'll be busy tomorrow, but I'll be seeing with you soon. Have a good night. Take care. Bye-bye.